Hello friends! Do you know how eggs are processed in factories? Today we are going to see the processing of eggs. It all starts on the farm, where the chickens are raised in an enclosed but well-maintained and well-ventilated environment. Chickens are fed and raised in cages, where they lay eggs. Each chicken can produce a maximum of 1 egg per day. It takes about 26 hours between the laying of 1 egg and the development of the next. Chickens lay eggs inside the cage. The cages are built like a slope. Because of that, the laid eggs roll onto an automatic conveyor from the cage, which then proceeds to another conveyor. The eggs bounce off the second and move on to the next chamber. A worker checks for dust particles and debris left over from the eggs as that moves on the conveyor. Finally, the eggs reach the next chamber, where at the end of the conveyor belt, several workers manually place the eggs in casings. Each casing contains 30 eggs. The casings are stacked together to prepare them for transport to the factory for further processing. At the factory, a robotic hand places eggs on a rolling conveyor. This factory is highly equipped. In some cases, workers are seen to manually place eggs, which of course increases the time of processing. The eggs are now being slowly moved into a UVC disinfection chamber. This is a machine that removes bacteria from eggs and checks for abnormalities inside. It identifies faulty eggs, samples them, and then digitally marks them. It also keeps track of how many eggs have been produced and the percentage of products that are rejected. The eggs are moved into a storing unit, where eggs identified as faulty are removed from the batch, which falls into a container underneath. After that, the eggs are primarily cleared of specks of dust and feathers. This process is necessary to clean the egg before continuing, because hygiene is the #1 priority in any case. A conveyor leads them to a unit where the eggs drop from the gaps between the conveyors into individual slots to orient the eggs. The egg-filled slots are then brought together and emptied. The eggs go into a machine that individually prints the mark on top and side of the eggs one by one using laser printers. Finally, it's time to pack the eggs. A packing machine takes stacks of empty egg casings and places them on the conveyor. Then a machine fills the empty cases. After that, laser checks are made to see if any of those eggs are missing from the cases. The packaging line also has a unit that automatically closes the lid of the packages. In some factories, this process is done by hand. Labels are then added on the packages. The packages then move to the end of the line, where they are collected and ready to leave the factory for consumers. In the United States, on average, a person consumes approximately 285 eggs per year. On the other hand, the United States produces approximately 9.2 billion dozen eggs a year. In another factory, a robotic hand extracts the eggs from the egg casing using suction technology and places them on the conveyor belt, as in the previous factory. Then, the eggs are inserted into a machine called the OptiBreaker. The breaker breaks the eggs and separates the yolks from the whites using 2 layers of cups and plastic stands. Subsequently, the yolks and whites are processed and channeled through the pipes to the packaging section. When the process is complete, plastic bags are filled with separated yolks, labeled, and shipped from the factory to the consumers. Meanwhile, on the other farm, white chickens are being raised that lay white eggs. According to the IEC, it would appear that of the 2.7 billion layers, about 1.6 billion were brown eggs, while 1.1 billion laid white eggs. As before, the laid eggs are transported into the secondary conveyor by a simple strip conveyor. The secondary conveyor carries the eggs to the washing unit, where the eggs are washed with clean water, and then drying on the weight. A worker then checks for cracks or abnormalities. The eggs are then divided between the two separate conveyors. Now, two operators manually align them for their placement on a rolling belt that leads to the packaging unit. The rolling conveyor causes the egg to roll along the path. This filters excess water from the eggs. The eggs then enter a heating chamber. In this chamber, heat is given from the bottom to dry the outer shell of the eggs. All the eggs are dry now that they are leaving the heating chamber and heading to the packaging unit. A worker takes stacks of empty egg cases and places them in slots of packing machine. The automated packaging machine pulls out the cases one by one and places them on the line. A machine then places the eggs on top of the empty cases. The filled cases then move to the end of the line, where a worker gathers and stacks them. Each case contains 30 eggs in total. The worker then carries the case to the back, where the empty cartons are filled with the stacks of egg cases. These workers must be very careful when moving the eggs. On the other hand, a part of the eggs goes into the Opti breaker unit on a rolling conveyor. After separating egg yolks, they are channeled through the pipes. Another portion of the eggs reaches the boiling section. A robot picks up the eggs from the reception line and places them on the boiling machine's conveyor belt. The eggs are then slowly moved into the boiling machine. After that, the boiled eggs are dropped into cold water. A conveyor takes the eggs out and proceeds to the peeling unit, which peels the eggs and dumps the eggshells into a container. Two workers then sort the freshly peeled eggs and separate the broken eggs from the rest. Now these freshly cooked eggs are ready to leave the factory and to be served on plates.